Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially.
Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have two special guests. We have Vanessa, who is she's passionate about helping others use travel as a tool to heal, dream, grow, and evolve. And during her time at UC Berkeley, Vanessa was diagnosed with stage 2 tongue cancer. Prior to her battle, she intended to climb the corporate ladder, but now there was an undeniable desire to have real, authentic experiences. So having regained her speech and overcome cancer, she felt she owed it to herself to lead a life that she was excited to wake up to each morning. So Vanessa developed a diverse career in the travel industry. And from overland adventure, guiding to helping Win Travel Leisure #1 tour provider in the world in 2019 for a year until COVID hit, Vanessa led a group of 20 plus digital nomads around the world. Oh, that sounds incredible. And then Mary's life changed one day when on a business trip, she picked up a magazine on the flight and read about the digital nomad life and was immediately intrigued. After working for 40 plus years, raising twins, starting 3 businesses, and being a community volunteer, as well as an awesome wife and friend, she felt the need to truly break from that rat race. And as a native of Houston, Texas, she had been a journalist, a registered nurse, and a leader in the fertility field, and having started 3 fertility-related businesses. Wow, you've done so much. So all this, the article she read on this flight was the catalyst for her when she ended up spending 6 weeks in Montevideo, Uruguay. Am I saying that right, Mary?
Montevideo.
Wow, such a beautiful name when pronounced properly. Well, that changed her life and her perspective, her ambition, and she met Vanessa on another digital nomad trip in Belgrade, Serbia in 2019. The seeds of BeyondTheNest were born. All right, welcome, Mary and Vanessa, to the show.
Thank you.
And one of the things I like to start this show off with is this show actually started, it was based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And this last 12 months, we have had every situation imaginable and unimaginable hit us globally. So I'd love to maybe start off with maybe if you have a time in your business or personal life where you hit a tough situation and how you got back on track.
Okay, Vanessa, why don't you want me to go? I'll go first. Okay, so I had to think about that kind of quickly and think what was the most recent one, because when you've had a long business life, you've had many ups and downs. But on this trip to Montevideo, I was actually sitting in a departure lounge at LAX, and I was a little bit freaked out. I was like, okay, who leaves their husband, their family, their dog, their cat, whatever, and goes to Uruguay for 6 weeks, not knowing anyone and knowing that I was going to be older than everyone. And I was kind of having a panic attack, and I was like flipping through my phone, and all of a sudden my business partner in one of my 3 businesses said, I'm done. I can't take it anymore. I quit. What? I'm about to get on a plane to Montevideo. And so after having a quick 3 glasses of Merlot, I got on the plane and never looked back. And it was difficult, but I met these amazing young people that helped me kind of like navigate things, as simple as like, I didn't know how to get my former partner off the Facebook, like our company Facebook. I didn't know how to do that. So they jumped in and taught me a new skill. So I I kind of hit the bottom there at the LAX airport. And by the time I came back from on the day out 6 weeks later, things were great.
Wow. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And then I would say my rock bottom moment and then my rebound would be like a lot more recent. I would say probably something I share with millions of other people is that like a low point in my life, maybe the low point happened in 2020. I had already been working in the travel industry and I was certain that this was like 100% what I was going after. And I was on my way. Mary and I had started developing our concept for the business and starting to zone in on who we wanted to help. And then travel shut down, and it shut down with no end date. It shut down in every single way. Not a single company was hiring. I found out that a company I'd been working for had gone under 2 months prior, and I was still working for them. And so, yeah, so it just, it took me a moment because I always use travel as a way to like escape and as a way to think and clear myself. I wasn't able to go anywhere, and I wasn't able to build a travel company during that time, really. And so I would say that what I did was I went real deep inside myself and found some calm, some stillness, and then just kept building. And now here we are today.
Wow. That's incredible. I know for myself, I confess, I traveled for 7 years straight. I rented my home out. My two youngest, I adopted 3 children. I have 3 of my own, so 6 kids. The 2 youngest traveled with me for 2.5 years and did independent study and studied the world, right? And we had a blast. And so when this pandemic, universal pause hit, all I could think of was how grateful I was that when I had the opportunity, I took that chance and I just went. And it was the best time of my life. And I do miss travel. I now things are opening a little bit, so I've started already. And so it has been a real important part of my life and meeting people. I literally have friends in just about every part of the globe to this day. And that's part of the travel experience, that it really blessed my children, myself. And yes, so I'd love to hear more about your program and your company, what you're creating now.
So you're totally right that travel is opening back up, but I would wager to say that it's happening a little bit more quickly than most people are aware of. We see some really exciting trends, both in terms of like speed of vaccination, attitude of travelers moving forward. Also, behind the scenes, companies really gearing up for a heavy 2021 travel season. And what we wanted to do was be in front of that. Obviously, like the pandemic was never really a part of our business plan, but we've since pivoted into it and found a way that we can help people through past the last year, in addition to serving like the greater purpose that we always had in mind. So we've always known that we wanted to help people that were interested in location independence or being a digital nomad or taking a break away from life and having a pause and finding a reboot like Mary did. And so that was always our initial intention, because we realized that the digital nomad space, meaning people that travel continuously without a home base, it was really geared at people more my age, 27, 28. And it was not very accommodating to people that were newer to remote working or people that were Mary's age and had twice as much energy as the rest of us. And we wanted to really fill in that gap in a beautiful way by creating an inclusive community, a small knit group of people that would take a luxury trip somewhere in the world with a theme in mind, a growth theme. And then also with the ability to really get intimate, get to know each other, kind of discuss what happened in the past year, if that's something that you need to do. We're big into motivation recalibration after last year. So what we're building are those luxury retreats. We already have a few up and ready. We're selling San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. We have a beautiful 2-acre property, and we're doing 2 back-to-back 1-week retreats. And then we're going to do a domestic retreat, and then we're in the Caribbean, and then we're in Asia, and then 22 happens, and we're blown up.
That sounds incredible. Wow. Yes. And
one of the big motivations for me with Vanessa was I was in Uruguay, and and I'm sure Sheila, you can get this, when you built this career and you've done these things and you've raised your family and one day you wake up and you can be 40, you can be 50, you can be 60, and you go, wait, what am I doing? And I was walking across this, I was waiting at a stoplight in Montevideo, and all of a sudden it was like this little voice said, you have enough, you have enough. And it didn't mean that I was going to go learn to play golf and be retired. It just meant that I no longer had to strive for all the letters after your name or all the titles or all the whatever. And I wanted to teach other people how to get there. And so it's taken me like 2 years to get there. And that's one of the empty nester part is either you're empty because your kids have gone or you're leaving your nest now that we've all been sequestered. So that's where the two sides came from.
very good. I agree. I am going to recalibrate our internet real quick. So we have one break that will come right back. Okay, now we're on the right line. Okay, so we'll fix that. So anyway, so I would love to hear how that, now you have family that stayed, or did they travel with you? How did you manage that with traveling full time?
To me, Vanessa.
I was the one that was traveling full time. And I did it at a juncture in my life where I didn't necessarily have all that holding me down. I overcame cancer at 21, just as I was graduating. And I was working at Yelp, and I was just like intending to do what everyone else was doing, which is just work and do tech in this app or that app in San Francisco. And I remember reading an Instagram ad that had to do with digital nomadism. And I said, that's a lifestyle, and you can make a business out of interacting with people at their best moments during travel. When I realized that was a possibility, I went headfirst into it. So when you read that I was an overland adventure guide, I have a commercial driver's license for when I used to drive buses and tours across America. So as it pertains to my long-term travel, my boyfriend actually did travel with me. So we got rid of our home base, and we did the world together, and it was an amazing adventure. But I know that not everyone has that kind of flexibility, and even moving forward in my life, I don't have that kind of flexibility. Where we do have a home base. I'm sitting in my home. It's very cool. But as such, I'm building my career so that I have really good communication with my partner. I'm able to take time, and I'm able to take personal space, and I'm able to say, this is a journey I want to take solo because I'm going to grow, and I need to find myself. I need to be unbridled by the house and the boyfriend and the dogs and the kids and even the job, and just be me in a brand new place. So that's how I did it. And then I guess that's kind of how I'm planning to do it.
But see, on the other hand, I'm at the other spectrum. I waved bye to the husband. The kids were in college. He took care of the pets. I still worked because I worked in a co-working space. But when you've been married for 26 years and you have this, very traditional life per se, as far as you have a business and everything, to say bye, my friends thought I'd lost my mind. What's your husband going to say? Well, we're beyond that. We're beyond asking your husband. My husband was thrilled. He loved it. It was a great thing for us. It was great for me because after all these years of actually being in a place by myself for 6 weeks, it was pretty glorious, to be honest. So, there was no cat crawling in the bed. It was just me. So it was perfect.
And we do find that like a lot of the digital nomad space are solo travelers, but we're not necessarily looking for people that are just going to do, I'm traveling from here on out. This is week 1 out of 1 million. We're doing this for people who are maybe toying with the idea. We're doing this for people who want to bring their spouse even. So we definitely are looking forward to having couples who are interested in exploring the goals together, or even separately. So we're doing it for people that don't have all of their life put together in a backpack. I can just pack it on and leave. It's maybe a step before that, or it's the primer. And it's kind of the calibration to help you figure out if that's the lifestyle you want to go, where are you headed and why are you going and what are you going to do there and how are you going to bring wellness with you and community and growth. So that's what we're focusing on answering for people.
Or you're just 1 week because you want to recalibrate. We're going to be offering a mentoring program the month before and then for a month after. afterwards as part of your whole experience. And so maybe you want to be somebody like me who said, okay, well, now I'm ready to move into the next specter of my life. I'm like fertility. I'm way beyond that. Next step is grandma. And so not anytime soon. And then now I want to do this travel. So that's kind of where it is. So you could be a digital nomad, or you may just want to be recalibrating your life or thinking about what your next step is.
Wow. I love that. I know for myself, I knew I had that opening in my life where I was kind of done. I had enough where I had kind of properties, cash flowing, and investments and businesses that kind of ran themselves at a certain point, and I was able to have fun. And I wanted my children, my youngest two at least, to be able to travel, and the others, as they were growing up, they were able to take time off and join us on some of those trips. And I thought, what a gift. This was a gift of time for my family, for that new relationship, Mary, you understand, of like having your children, now they're adults.
Mm-hmm.
You have a completely different relationship with your adult children. And there's a transition that happens from now you're the parent, now you're friends. And so it was really a beautiful time. And then Vanessa, like you had an illness when you were really young. And for me, one of my children, my youngest, actually passed away last year. That was really hard on us, but he was diagnosed with a heart condition in 5th grade. He lived to be 22. And and that was really hard. But we look back and we're like, we traveled. He lived. He saw the world. He did all these things. He had a great life. And what was school going to really do a lot for him? He was a top student, but that travel, that family time, priceless.
That's so special.
Yeah. So for
That's
us,
so special.
Yeah. So that was, for us, that was a big thing. And we don't know. That's the thing. We don't know what we have or how long we have here or whatever. So we get to have these gifts of time with our loved ones, whether you're traveling alone to get to know yourself, because my gosh, you've been in a relationship forever and you finally want some time to get to know you again, or you want to bring your adult children maybe for part of your travels and get to know them on a different level. It's just incredible.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, I think that I did have my mom in mind ever since the germination of this idea began. I remember telling her about it and her just being over the moon that she would even be able to do something like that once I built it. So she had recently become work from home, and she was bored. She was lonely. She was like kicking around in her house all day, didn't have much to do. And one of the things that I want for all of those people that have become work from home, either by choice or not by choice, is I want them to know how to make the most of this lifestyle, because the remote revolution, if you will, has been accelerated beyond anything else by COVID. So if we're not happy working in our home offices or in half of our bedrooms, what can we do to make sure that we're going to be successful at this next chapter? How can we ease into this new reality, make the most of it, and find what we need? So if we're not happy at home, working from home, why? What are we missing? Are we missing, maybe, is it exercise? Is it family connection? Is it travel to look forward to? And of course, having things to look forward to is a blessing that now we're going to get to have again. It's been hard to get by without knowing when the end is. But yeah, so now we're looking to work with, the millions of people that are at home and just thinking, what now? I don't think I'm going back to the office. What do I do?
Right. Yeah. And the offices are like, we're saving so much money. We don't have the overhead. We don't have to pay the rent. Let them stay home.
It's not coming back.
Well, my other businesses, 14 years ago when I started my other businesses, I had a brick and mortar, 3 offices, reception area, kitchen, the whole 9 yards. I'm now down to a co-working space where I have a private office if I need one. And sometimes 2 weeks go by and I don't go because it's like there's no need to, or I need to escape from my husband working at home, and that's it. So I can see where if you don't need a brick and mortar, what's the point? Although I need people, so I couldn't work from home 5 days a week forever.
Now, this is the truth for me. I just had this discussion with my daughter where I was like, how come now that the world is opening up again and I am working more than ever, why is it that I'm able to clean the house more and I have more things done? Because I'm out and I'm with people. I'm more productive than when we were sitting there on lockdown for like 3 months. Nothing got done.
I mean, there were some days when it was hard to do anything or to find the desire to get up and try to make sense of anything.
I missed that. I'm the only person I know. Everyone else had like their COVID. Oh, I learned to make origami. I worked my buns off during I missed that whole thing. It's like somewhere I missed it because I didn't get to do that recalibration that everybody talks about. I was like working all the time. But I think I was escaping. I was so worried that my business was going to go down the tubes with it and everything, and it didn't. I work in fertility, so that meant that people wanted babies more than ever. I'm at home. I'm realizing I want a family. I don't want to go this road alone, and so there's been just a tsunami of people since COVID wanting a family.
That's so interesting. And what tips do you have, if any, for listeners who are looking to do this lifestyle and maybe add travel to their work from home or remote working life now? What tips?
So my most basic advice would be that absolutely everyone should go somewhere this year. Whether you go with us, whether you go alone, whether you hop on a cruise, if those are even running, go somewhere. Because you are doing yourself a disservice by undercutting what you went through last year and what you sacrificed, the boundaries that you had to relinquish, the extra hours you had to work, the psychological effects. Give this to yourself. Give it to yourself because you were right. We don't know how much time we have. We don't know when things will turn on and off. So opt to do it. Just give yourself the gift of recalibrating, of getting out there, of doing something that really lights your soul on fire that you're going to look forward to and be excited about the next morning. So that would be my number one tip. And then the secondary tip would be when you're looking at your first travels post-COVID, things are going to be a little bit more confusing. The travel space has changed a little bit in terms of bookings, cancellations, flexibility, what you need when you get to the airport, what you're going to need when you get back, being aware of how something might change while you're in the country, being aware of where your layover is and how that might impact something. So I would say definitely go with a trusted source for your first run on post-COVID travel. Definitely go with a group. And have a little bit of a growth goal in mind, like have a motivation or have an intention when you set out that's going to be beneficial and something that you feel like you'll grow into.
Nice.
And I have a little extra on that. She said it so perfectly. But I've always found that travel, especially after the world we've all done this together in the world. Everybody was affected by this. I mean, even Antarctica, the people in Antarctica were affected by COVID. So we have this one universal tie now that we've all kind of survived or made it through COVID. So when you travel, it's not just going and looking at, the forum or the tower. You really need to look at people and go, they went through it and I went through it. And now we're buying vegetables at the roadside stall together. And to me, that's the joy of travel. It's kind of stepping out of your own life and stepping into how other people live, because we're all kind of the same. And now that we've all had COVID, in our lives, we're all really all the same. We've all experienced it.
Nice. I love that. And now I love the remote offices. Mary, how did you find those?
Well, the weird thing was I'd always had brick and mortar because you're taught you need that you have to have an office, or people are going to wonder what's wrong with these people. Don't they have an office? So when I was on my first digital nomad experience, I loved it. I loved the co-working aspect. So it was a big giant, the one in mind there was a big giant room, had big desks with all kinds of plugs. You could plug 15 different things into the desk. They had a few private offices, but there was, you got to talk to people. And if you did something that was computer oriented, then you were just there with your headphones on and there would be somebody across the hall. There was a private place to take phone calls. So I went, you know what? I am paying $2,200 a month and why am I doing this? That was it. And then when I came back, I moved from Phoenix to Houston, and I was kind of like, there's got to be some there. Now they've started opening them up, and they're on every street corner now. But it was a great business model. Yep.
How about for these remote places? How do you deal with internet on the remote?
Yeah, so that's
the best internet. Everybody else has better internet in the United States. True, I think so. I mean, everywhere I've been, it's super fast. Yeah. Well, maybe not you then.
I would say the number one thing is that you don't have to worry about it if you go with us. Like, that's something that we handle and something that we make sure of. A lot of other providers are aware of the fact that people do need to work and travel. But also it's important that you get in touch with the host that you're going to be staying with. So if you're staying in an Airbnb, for instance, you can ask the host to take a picture of the upload and download speeds of the Wi-Fi. So that's something that they can do from their phone to demonstrate the speed of the Wi-Fi. And something that you can ask for maybe a couple times just to make sure it's consistent. But yeah, that's something that I would definitely recommend. And then also being aware of like whether your phone plan will support you down there. So I use T-Mobile, which is absolutely what travelers should be using, because we get international data in 190 some odd countries, as well as texting and then cheap phone calls. So I do make sure, although, you know, my internet might be slower, that I'll have it where I go.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And I had when I was traveling years ago, like I spent like a month in Italy. I was a speaker at a conference, and then I thought, well, okay, we'll just add on a trip to Italy, right? So I remember my phone bill was like $1,000 because I had to keep calling the office. But now I'm on a program where it's $10 a day. Okay, so it's $10 a day. You can call anywhere, and that means I don't have to turn it on or turn it. Just automatic. I cross the border and immediately it's $10 a day. So those are things that have gotten better about international travel. But on the other hand, you're always connected, which is kind of not great either. So
well, there are so many digital tools that either were available prior to the pandemic that just weren't making a huge splash, like Zoom. Like Zoom has been around, but I'm sorry, no one had heard the word until the beginning of 2020.
Video chat.
But there are so many other digital tools now to make sure that you as a business owner can lead an entirely remote team very successfully, whether they're dispersed or remote within the same city, so that you can, manage them, create expectations, and just manage them.
Honestly, the only thing when my two digital nomad trips, it was only the time zone thing. So like when I was in Belgrade, it was like 8 hours difference, so that was a little tough. But when I was in Montevideo, it was 4 hours difference, and it was fabulous because I would get up in the morning, I would do my own thing. I'd go run at the beach, I'd go have coffee, I'd read the paper. I had like this 4 hour window every day. It was just mine. And then I would work until like 7 or 7:30, which is when people go to dinner, 8 o'clock. That's early in South America. So that was like the joy of it. That I always thought, how would it be in Bali? You'd be upside down.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Yeah, you'd be upside down in Bali or Thailand. So you kind of have to deal with that. But that would be okay.
Yes, that's the only time I really got, I guess it was like jet lag, was India, sometimes Dubai a little bit, but India was worse.
Yeah.
That's like 23, 24, some odd crazy hours. And so it's like a whole, it took like 2 or 3 days to really accommodate because you're completely upside down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Australia's a little bit off. So those were like, okay, that's what they're talking about with jet lag. That would get me. London wasn't too bad. Although it's
like 6 to 8 hours, right? Yeah.
No, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't a big deal. So that was like my limit.
I think the longest flight I've ever taken, just like to add, was my repatriation flight from South Africa back to California. When was that? In July. Mm-hmm. So we went from Cape Town to a stop in Joburg, not getting off, a stop in Johannesburg, then a stop in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, then a stop in Dublin, Ireland, Dulles, and then LAX. One plane. All in a day. It was terrible.
Yes, that is something. That is.
But, Mexico is a lot closer. I mean, it was very strategically chosen. So Mexico has been leading much of the world in tourism throughout COVID-19. So they're struggling with the pandemic undoubtedly. And I've spoken with a lot of Mexicans throughout. but their country never really shut down to tourism. And Americans, especially those that live closer to the border, I'm 30 minutes north of the border, escape down to Mexico with regularity. Mm-hmm. So we have been down to San Miguel. We've chosen our location. We've made sure that everything is in a safe space, that it's easily accessible. It's either a single flight. You might have one US layover, but we wanted to make sure that people were aware, that this will be a little bit easier, a lot closer to home. And then we'll start jetting farther and farther away.
Nice. I'm going Saturday to San Miguel, and it's 94 minutes. That's how long the flight is. So
I would love to hear. So let's pretend I'm going to go on the trip to Mexico, which I may. If I'm going, what happens when I arrive? What are you doing activities? Yeah. What does the day or the week look like for your event?
You're good at that.
Yeah, so I've actually just finished putting together a few of these sample days so that we can kind of give them out as collateral. But here's what would happen. So you would have your flight arranged by our travel coordinator. She would handle all of your booking, your reservation, make sure that everything's on time, and make sure that if COVID tests are required, that you get them at the right places at the right time. You'll land in Guanajuato, which is León Airport, and we'll have a private car and driver waiting for you to bring you over to the estate. Our estate is a beautiful 2-acre private property that's completely walled in. It's a 9-bedroom, 13-bathroom estate with horse stables, a helipad, a crystal clear glassed in gym. It's absolutely out of this world.
Pool.
Oh, the pool is just stunning. The cabanas. So anyway, we've chosen a place that, in accordance with the fact that we're coming out of the pandemic, we wanted to give people a little bit more space. So it's fully socially distanced. We have 10 to 12 people roughly on a 2-acre property. So there's plenty of room to spread out. And then what would happen is you'd probably go ahead and get settled in. By this juncture, I'd know a lot about you because you would have told me why you're there, what it is that you want to learn, what's in your heart, what you've been through. You would have gone through the mentorship program along with the other people. So the first thing that would happen is you'd probably recognize someone that you met through mentorship. And then you guys would probably get settled. But yeah, an average day, to give you an idea, is wake up in the morning. There's either Pilates or yoga or meditation or a workout class happening in the gym or in the garden. You can have breakfast from our chef-cooked breakfasts every morning that are available either on the veranda, in the dining room. We have a morning workshop that you can attend that would be something akin to utilizing the digital tools that are available to you to build and grow your remote business, for instance, or reestablishing your boundaries post-COVID. So, a lot of our boundaries dropped, and what are they, and why do we have certain boundaries, and how can we get back there? So something like that would be a morning workshop. And then we would have the opportunity to go off and discuss and hang out. You can either go to a local hot spring with your free time. You can do work that you have to do for back at home. We have an area for working. We have local vineyards and things like that. So with any free time, you can do absolutely anything. You can go for a horseback ride. You can go for an ATV ride. You can go for a helicopter trip. And then what we do, optional. And then what we do is we'll be taking people for amazing experiences like mezcal tastings or private art gallery viewing. So San Miguel is a hub to incredible artists from around the world and expats that are drawn there because of the culture and the history. So we're going to make sure that you're fully engrossed in that. We're going to make sure that you experience the art galleries and the really cool expats that have made this home, and that you have a chance to partake in the culture with cooking classes or really cool, unique, bespoke experiences. In the evenings, we might do another workshop. We might have a chef cook dinner. We might go out to a restaurant together. And then in the evening, sometimes there are really cool experiences that I'm thrilled about, like guided stargazing, evening yoga or evening meditation, and some of the things like that. So yeah, they're full days, but you have the opportunity to take on as much or as little as you want. If your schedule is full of work and you have a couple hours to chill out, you join us for that portion, and the rest, it's on you. It's totally your time to enjoy and do with what you will.
Nice. Wow, I may move there full time.
It has one of the biggest expat communities in South America. It's really, really intriguing. Thousands of people, thousands of Americans are down there.
And Canadians. Yep.
That sounds incredible. I'm like ready to pack my bags, My daughter, if she heard this, she would already be in the car ready to go to the
Well,
airport.
I'm sure she's a listener.
Well, she's probably about your age, Vanessa. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I love to hear. And one of the coolest things I think about this entire organization that we've built is that Mary and I are totally cross-generational. We're at least my age difference apart, if that makes sense. Like we're doing a really cool thing because I am getting to work with someone who's been in business for 30 years, who's grown businesses, and also who has that brick and mortar mentality and can kind of bring back some, help me understand the attitude of some other people that are also dealing with businesses that were brick and mortar. Whereas I can kind of speak to a lot of the new changes that are happening and the younger demographic. And, but we've both got the energy to really kick it from 7 a.m. to midnight. So you never know, like on the trip, who'll be doing what. But yeah, it's really, really cool that we have someone that's on the younger side and someone that can be in more of our, and someone that's not.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Yes. I guess I was before my time for sure, because I did my 7-year travel at least 3 years ago, where I traveled 7 years before 3. So 11
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a while and I enjoyed every moment until I got to the point where I was like, okay, now I need to like nest again and have a home base, and still like traveling a few times a month at least anyway. This last year of universal pause, really, because we had a loss in the family, my daughter even said, Mom, this year we needed to have the world shut down, to have us kind of slow down more than we ever wanted to and just take a moment. But we're kind of ready to go. So that's great. Yes, that's beautiful. And how do people connect with you or sign up for these trips, learn more about all you're doing?
Well, they can go to the website, www.beyondthenest.org. So it's beyondthenest.org, all one word. We're on all the social media. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. So what else are we on, Vanessa?
So our Instagram is at @beyond_nest, and our Facebook is at Go Beyond the Nest. So you can contact us on both of those. You can also, on any page of our website, which is BeyondTheNest.org, there is an opportunity to sign up for a conversation with us. So we would encourage anyone, please take that opportunity. Sign up for a conversation. We'd love to further delve into what it is that we're offering and see if it's going to be right for some people. We're thrilled about it. So go ahead and get in touch with us that way. Yeah. Website, social media, all the goods.
Looking forward to it. All right. Well, we're packing our bags. So all right. Thank you again, Mary and Vanessa. And we will be back after these messages.
Bye.
Bye. If you are just tuning in, this is Sheila Mack, host of NBC's Sheila Mack Show, and today we had an incredible discussion about how to work and travel beyond the nest, here with Vanessa and Mary, who have started Beyond the Nest, a incredible travel program to help us all connect as we work remotely and travel the world together. So if you would like to connect and learn more about their retreats and incredible events, connect with them at www.beyondthenest.org. www.beyondthenest.org. Chapter 11. Lifestyle Design. This chapter is going to look a little different than the other chapters. Instead of starting out with a rock bottom moment and ending with that person's moment of empowerment, we are going to compare the lives of two women. The life of Anne. Anne was very athletic growing up. As a young adult, she was active and healthy and loved to exercise. She helped rescue animals, volunteering at the local shelter to share her love with those animals. Then she got married and had kids. Anne gave up a lot of her passions and the things that made her happy in order to please everybody else.
Her husband is allergic to animal dander, so she couldn't have pets at home, and she gradually stopped going to the shelter too. She didn't stay as active as she'd been when she was single. She said yes to all her friends, doing anything they asked her to. She cared for a lot of people, but she didn't set boundaries. Anne's days were long and busy, full, but not fulfilling. Anne had a vision of how she wanted her life to look, but she woke up one day and realized that she was living a very different life. Eventually, Anne's health failed. She developed many health issues because she had stopped eating healthy foods, exercising, and taking time to rest her mind. She spent a lot of money on health care instead of spending time staying healthy. When she really needed people to help her, she didn't know how to ask. Some of her friends had more boundaries than Anne, so they said no to her requests, even though in the past she had helped them move or with accounting or babysitting. People weren't willing to give as much as she had, so she was at a loss. And with some of the people in her life who did want to reciprocate, Anne wasn't able to be vulnerable or gracious enough to receive. Anne is at the point of retiring from a job she doesn't love, and she's physically and financially unable to keep up with her friends and family. She sees her friends doing work they're passionate about and talented at, and it affects her self-worth when she compares her life to theirs. She feels stuck, upset, and resentful, and she's angry with herself for letting life slip by. Anne thought she was doing the right things. She was a good student, a good daughter and sibling, the one who didn't need so much attention. She was taught to put everybody else first, and she's done an amazing job of teaching everybody else to treat her like a doormat. She never filled up her own self, and now she has a very painful void in her life. The life of Barbara. Barbara has designed her life and lives it by her design. She has still done things for other people, but she follows her own definition of happiness and success. Interesting things happened in her childhood, but at some point, she decided that she was going to live life on her terms. Barbara made a lot of mistakes. She tried to live her passion 3 or 4 different times in different ways. It didn't work out at first, but she was determined. At first, she wasn't even sure what that looked like, but she knew it would involve art, dance, and educating children. As it unfolded, she started teaching children to read and created a story time program. Looking back, she laughs about her ups and downs. The determination to live her life and work around her passion and her gifts was considered non-traditional, so she experienced some bumps that made her strong and resilient. Barbara kept solid rituals, routines, and boundaries in place. She eats healthy foods and takes care of herself so she can help other people too. She made her self-care a priority, knowing that she was modeling that for her children. Barbara and Anne are the same age, but Barbara looks much younger because she's healthier and happier. She wakes up in the morning and is excited to go to work. When Barbara looks back at her life so far, she's at peace. She knows she's done her highest good. No part of her feels that she wasted time on things that didn't align with her values. She lives exactly the life she was supposed to, the life she chooses. And she's excited for whatever comes next. You only get one. Anne has lived her whole life based on what other people wanted, whereas Barbara has lived life for herself. And it's still full of love and other people. Which life would you choose? Maybe you choose a little of each. These are extreme examples, so maybe you choose neither. The point is that it's your life and you get to choose what it looks like. Anne didn't choose to design her own life, but it's not too late. It's not over for her. It doesn't matter what your age is. Until you're not here anymore, you can still make a change. The rest of your life can become the best part of your life. All the decisions you make have an impact on your future, on your whole life. They build upon each other. If you don't decide how you're going to live your life, somebody else is going to decide for you, and most people are happy to do that. They're happy to sell you the wrong house so they can make a commission. They're happy to put you in a job you don't like for less pay so you do all the work. But if you're not happy, it's not a blessing. I'm not a Christian Scientist, but Mary Baker Eddy, the founder of Christian Science movement, said, "Whatever blesses one, blesses all." If you're not happy, or if you're not living your essence, your truth, your life, it's hard for you to send happiness to other people in your life. But when you are happy and using your talents and gifts, there's no competition. There's no ego. You're just connected to everything and everybody in love, and it's beautiful. Everyone has that beauty in them, in the way they're here and who they are. We're all amazing, talented, beautiful, incredible people in our own right. When we try to shift and fit into a mold of who we believe we're supposed to be, the adult who never plays, who goes to work and takes on debt to buy a house, it kills our souls. Every day we lose sight of who we really are. How can you be happy when the most important parts of you are hidden or quieted because you followed somebody else's rules? How many people have felt like they had to go to school to become a doctor or a lawyer just because their parents wanted them to, and they're miserable? If they were living their truth, they would be happy, and that's worth even more than money. That allows them to attract the right peer group and a partner who's aligned with their truth. It may sound obvious, but when you're not living your truth, you're living a lie. When that's the case, you may say that you want something, but it doesn't align with you because it's not real. And you can't fake a life and a lie for long. The real you, the beautiful, amazing essence of you, is going to escape every time. Free your soul. It's time to free your soul. Start by figuring out your temperament, talents, and what you really love. You can refer back to the reboot activity in Chapter 6 to get started. There are surveys and tests you can take, but you have to be honest with your answers, so honest it may even hurt other people's feelings. Like the parents who always dreamed of you becoming a doctor while you wanted to be a cruise ship comedian. Doing this will free your soul to go be who you're really supposed to be. And when you are living the life you're supposed to, you're going to help people in your own way. You're going to live your purpose because that's just who you are. When you're fully living, you're able to fully contribute to society. Although you're doing more self-care, although you're just living your truth and your essence on your terms, you're going to serve far more people. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. Finding your truth and designing your life based on that truth and your passion serves a higher purpose and a higher good. It serves humanity far more than doing what you or others believe you're supposed to do. So it's actually the least self-centric thing you could ever do. Sheila's story. When my kids were old enough to go to school, and I was making cash flow from renting out the buildings my stores were in, I decided I wanted to be more involved. I wanted to be there with my children. I'd taught the kids at the store, I'd led classes on safety and training, so I decided to get a teaching certificate to teach in private schools, mostly creative, art-centered schools such as Montessori and Waldorf. It was important to me that they were in this environment that featured learning through story, music, art, and their imaginations. I wanted them to learn languages, handwork, gardening, woodwork, and living through the history of different world cultures instead of just reading about them in textbooks. These private schools emphasize feelings and emotions, and the teachers are empowered to modify learning for each child. This unique standard of education was what I wanted for all my kids, and I wanted to be there too. I had 3 children of my own and 3 foster kids. That adds up to a big tuition cost, but as a teacher, my children would get to go to the school where I taught for free or at a reduced rate. As a teacher, I felt like I got paid to have fun. I even started a tutoring program at my house, so I made a huge career shift from owning and operating stores to teaching, but I still showed up as myself. I was still me, using my capabilities and talents, and I was emotionally ready to make that shift. I wanted to have as much time with my children as I could and be involved in their lives. The fact that I was being paid to be near them and able to contribute to other kids made teaching a natural fit. I was doing life on my terms. I was still getting income from my investment building. I never felt like I worked for somebody else, even when I did, because I was showing up on purpose with a heart, a vision, and a reason. The bonus came when, because I was a teacher, we all had the entire summer off. We were on the same schedule, so I had the summer off. Christmas vacation, spring break. When I was running the store, I didn't take a vacation for 14 years. Now I had the income and time with my kids, so we could go play. We could travel. One summer, we went across the United States visiting all the historical sites. We would read about the Amish and then go see where they lived and learn even more. The culmination of our trip across the country was going to Epcot Center and feeling like we saw the rest of the world. We would study another culture and then go learn about it at Epcot. It wasn't all rides and Mickey Mouse at Disney World. Applying the Boots formula to lifestyle design. Using the Boots formula, you can go from being stuck, saying yes to everyone, to becoming the woman you want to be. Being. Designing your life starts with the first step. Who are you being? That is going to be different for everybody. And once you've done some assessments to find your temperament, talents, and truth, you can look at how you are different from anybody else. Who are you going to be when you show up now? Who do you need to be to truly be the best version of yourself? How are you going to live your essence and truth? You may have a whole life set up around something that is not true to who you are. Now that you are redesigning your life, whether this is your difficult situation or you're doing so after making it through another rock bottom situation, the gift is being able to set a new foundation, but that means knowing who you're going to be. Orientation. With this orientation, you need to say, this is where I am, and this is what I want. What do you want your life to look like in a year? What do you want it to look like in 5 years? Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they underestimate what can be done in 5 years. This is a complete lifestyle redesign. You're not just switching one thing or dealing with one emergency situation. You're reconfiguring every system in your life. Order of operations. The first step in the order of operations is to figure out your first priority. If you could just do one thing today that would make everything else easier and make you feel really happy, what would that be? Giving yourself the time you need to think about and do this one thing will make you feel like you took care of yourself, and your whole day will be better. Give yourself those little things, and they might be different each day. They build up, and when you consistently do the first thing you added, you can then add more things, and those build up too. Take it in order of priority. You may need to adjust your relationship or get out of a career that doesn't serve you. That takes time. You're not going to make this choice and then be in the exact life you desire the next day. There are steps in between. If you're not good at the steps, you may want to have somebody help you through that. You may be really great at seeing the vision, but you're not sure how to unravel all those pieces. Or you may be able to see little pieces, but you're not quite clear on the vision. You may need to give yourself a little bit more time than you think. If you make a 1-year plan and a 5-year plan, it may feel like nothing is changing at first. It's subtle. But once you start building, you get to a point where it gets easy. And the fact that you're not waiting to live your life on your terms is so beautiful and freeing and such a wonderful gift to yourself that you won't care if it does take 5 years to get the whole vision of what you want because you're already living it now. You're not giving that happiness to any other person, situation, or thing. It could be that you're in your career still, and you're going to switch over slowly, but how can you incorporate your true essence, talents, and truth in what you're doing today? Can you volunteer or start a side business so that you're actually having that happiness and fulfillment now instead of waiting for a future perfect moment in time? Thinking. Thinking is your mindset. It's setting your intention, and with that comes gratitude. If you're starting over and rebuilding, but your budget doesn't allow for the fancy house or new car that you want, or if you can't start your desired career tomorrow, how can you adjust your mindset and be grateful for what you do have? How can your way of thinking guide you to enjoy where you are now? Your environment matters. Not just the furniture and the decorations, but the energy that fills it. The energy, positive or negative, comes from the people around you, how the objects you surround yourself with make you feel, and the words and images you expose yourself to on the radio, television, and internet. How are you setting up your home? How are you setting up your environment? If you have stress in your office or home, what can you do to shift away from that negative energy? I went to the nail salon, and the news was blaring on the TV, full of war and death and horrible things. I don't want to be bombarded by that negative energy when I'm trying to relax. I know these things happen. I read the news and keep up with current events. But when I'm trying to rejuvenate and take care of myself, I don't want to see those vivid pictures that leave me feeling drained. I have friends, though, who love the news and can't work without it on. Where can you create a sanctuary in your home? Sometimes just removing the television from your bedroom switches the whole energy. It could be as simple as moving things around to create a sacred space in your house where you can have that thinking time to draw, journal, or write your life vision. You can design an intentional lifestyle that supports your individual rhythms. Once you see it and think it, start acting as if you already have it. You're going to live your best life today in gratitude. You're going to stop waiting to live. As you design your life, you're already in a better mindset. Stepping up. Stepping up is your action step. A special thank you to our sponsor of today's show, Beyond the Nest. Go to www.beyondthenest.org to learn more about their incredible travel retreats and how they can help you create a travel and remote work lifestyle, a lifestyle redesign on your terms.
I have to let you know something, just between you and me. This book is not one size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation.
I'd love for you to grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available on Audible as well as on Amazon and Kindle and at www.sheilamac.com.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mac's new #1 bestseller boot straps and bra straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with boot straps and bra straps. Get your copy at www.SheilaMac.com today.